The media asks Secretary of State Mike Pompeo, when will President Trump start recognizing the Biden transition team?
There will be a smooth transition to a second Trump administration.
Apparently, the media, and maybe even some of you, really do need a lesson in civics, how our government works, how elections are actually handled. I hate to burst the media bubble, but they don't actually get to decide who the president-elect is. You got Biden running around out there now with the big sign behind his head, Office of the President-elect, which there's no such thing. Of course, the Biden people are upset that today they were given official word by the Trump administration that no one from Team Biden will be allowed to attend any of the high-level security meetings regarding our nation's defense and security, etc., 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 until the process plays out and we know for certain who is the next president. That said, I know many of you are wanting me to be more rabid about this. You're wanting other members of conservative media to be even more rabid about this. Where are the Trump rallies? And we all love that kind of stuff, but we're in a different phase of this election. This isn't about a raucous campaign and outrageous, ostentatious public displays. This is now going to be litigated in the courts. And President Trump, from his wealth of experience in the business world for 40 years, understands now this is a domain in which he has lived in. And you'll notice that there's even a change in President Trump's decorum and behavior. Right now, he's letting the lawyers do the talking. They're making the case. They're laying it out. And I know for you and I, we want to know what's happening and why is it more happening and what's going on, and everything seems to be just stalled and derailed, and just breathe. Breathe. Rance Priebus last night really did an excellent job outlining and laying out what the process is and how it's actually working right now.
Yeah, I mean, the world of recounts, it really starts backwards. So I'll just take the state of Wisconsin, for example. And most states follow this same example. They're a little different, but generally this is how it works. Right now, all the counties in Wisconsin, 72 counties, are doing what's called a canvass. And under the statutes, a canvass is a time when the clerks check the counts, check the machines, check that they said that Trump got this amount, Biden got that amount, and everything is reviewed. The canvass in a state like Wisconsin is not going to get done conceivably until the 17th of November, next week. Then the campaigns have 24 hours to file a petition for a recount with the Wisconsin Elections Board. Same in a lot of states, exactly the same way. Then the recount date is set after that date. So now we're on the 18th. Now that's the middle of the week, next week. It would actually be probably Monday the 23rd. They would say, now we're going to start the recount. At the recount, Sean, is when all of these affidavits, all of the things that people think were done wrong, are then presented to a board of canvassers. And if they don't like the result, if the campaign doesn't like the result there, they appeal to the court. Okay, so let's take an example. If, say, you have an affidavit and you have proof that there were 1,000 ballots in a particular precinct that were erroneously filed, or administrative failure, or fraud, or whatever, you bring that to the court. And the court could rule in your favor, and they would say, you're right. There's 1,000 votes here that are improper. At that point, before the recount starts, and with all the other accusations and all the other cases that are brought, the court will say, before you start counting, you need to remove X amount of ballots from that precinct. And at that point, blind ballots are pulled out of that precinct. And then once all the ballots are adjusted and once all the things are taken care of, then the recount proceeds with both campaigns in the room, and a winner is eventually awarded.
Joe Biden stands right now at 290 electoral votes, 270 to win. If he loses Pennsylvania, and I'm pretty confident that the Supreme Court is going to hear that case. You have the governor of the state of Pennsylvania who violated the law. And he didn't just misinterpret it, reinterpret it, he outright violated it. And it doesn't matter that the Pennsylvania Supreme Court said he could. The Constitution is clear that the state legislative bodies, they set the rules, they set the procedures for handling elections. Not governors, not secretaries of state, not even state Supreme Courts. It is the legislative branch within each state. They vote, they pass the rules of how it's going to be done. I mean, if they want to do rock, paper, scissors to decide an election, the Constitution gives them that authority, providing that that's the way the state legislature voted it. So you have the governor who circumvented the legislative body. He'd simply decided that he would accept ballots for 3 days beyond the election date, and they weren't going to worry about postmarks, what time, etc., etc., etc. Justice Alito, in 2 decisions, has already made it really clear where the Supreme Court is going to land on this one. So there's a really strong possibility and probability that Pennsylvania gets pulled out of the win for Joe Biden column. Now, the reason I say that is at 8 p.m., Donald Trump was ahead 600,000 votes, and then by 4 a.m. it was gone when these magic trucks just arrived. All these ballots, many of which are not postmarked, many of which they voted for no one else, for anything else, just Joe Biden. They're not filled out correctly, no return addresses, different color ink on envelopes and ballots inside. Many of them, it's very apparent they were filled out by the same people. Now, again, understand that in moving this forward, you have all of these signed affidavits. These people who are willing to come forward, they testify to these things, they give a sworn, signed statement. They can go to jail for perjury. So when the media keeps decrying, there's no evidence, there is allegation right now that will be substantiated as evidence as it gets its day in court. You have Michigan that is going to be headed for, I believe, the court system to step in because Michigan has already admitted that they had glitches in their computer software. So at bare minimum, there is going to be a recount done there. And I promise you, with Attorney General William Barr having now unleashed the Justice Department, recounts going forward in places like that will be done under federal supervision. So they won't be covering up any windows. They won't be telling them they have to stand 100 feet back. Today, it was announced that Georgia is going to hand recount every county in the state of Georgia. Hand recount. This is a huge ruling. This is big. Everybody just needs to breathe. Everybody just needs to relax. And the reason that the media is all in on this, remember, they don't just hate Donald Trump. They don't just disagree with his policies. They hate the fact that he took them on. He called them fake news. He calls them out at every rally. He has thrown some of them out of the White House. Just ask Bob Acosta. He calls them the enemy of the people. And so you have the media that is just absolutely hell-bent on creating this narrative and this image that Joe Biden won it. Joe Biden won it. Now, it's funny. The media did not want to accept, nor would they accept, the Trump presidency. In fact, look at places like North Carolina that they still refuse to call. And there's 99% of the vote in. And you've got these people now questioning members of Team Trump. Well, there's 99% of the vote in these places where Biden's been declared the winner. I heard one reporter make the comment, well, Biden's ahead by 21,000 votes. Trump can't possibly think he's going to make that up. Really? Because I went to bed with President Trump up over 500,000 votes in Georgia, or I'm sorry, Pennsylvania, and then woke up to find out, Shazam, Batman, here, why these truckloads of ballots arrived with only Joe Biden's name on it, nobody else for anything else. So everybody needs to let the process play out. And again, the media is incensed that there is, well, 70 million of us who refuse to just take their word for it. And this is why they try to do this paint this narrative now that Trump is, quote, trying to have the election overthrown. And anything that I post, anything that I write, anything even like this will get fact checked. And the Associated Press has already decided this election. Well, newsflash, honey bun. The Associated Press doesn't get to determine jack. Your job is simply report the news. You don't get to create it. I know that's an enigma to you now. You don't determine these things. The Constitution does. And there is a process to which Mike Pompeo explained beautifully.
There will be a smooth transition to a second Trump administration. Right? We're ready. The world is watching what's taking place here. We're going to count all the votes. When the process is complete, there'll be electors selected. There's a process. The Constitution lays it out pretty clearly. The world should have every confidence that the transition necessary to make sure that the State Department is functional today, successful today, and successful with the president who's in office on January 20th, a minute afternoon, will also be successful.
Just breathe. Live your life. Let Team Trump and his lawyers, they got this. We're watching the Republicans now line up. Mitch McConnell, the VP, Mike Pompeo. You got Rance Priebus out there. Why, even Marco Rubio is out there now. They are vocally standing up. They are defending the president and this process. And Lindsey Graham, I think, has finally had a come to Jesus moment where it seemed like he was waffling back and forth. And then I think it kind of dawned on him that once again, this plea for, are you going to work with the new president? And some of these Republicans kind of, well, yeah. And then I think Lindsey Graham finally realized, wait a minute, if there really is this type of fraudulent voting taking place, well, what's to say that the next election cycle they don't use this same process to oust him, oust Rubio, oust any Republican? And Lindsey Graham was right when he said, if we let this stand and we don't push back and fight back, there will never be a Republican president again. Remember the words of Joseph Stalin. People who vote don't decide anything. People who count votes decide everything. And right now, we have an overwhelming abundance of allegation, signed affidavits, over 200 plus, for one county in the state of Michigan alone. The courts are not going to be able to ignore this. This is going to move forward. Breathe. Pray. Breathe. Live your life and stay tuned. Hey, that's it for today's rant. Thank you so much for watching. Make sure you're a subscriber to the channel, smack the bell, and click the word all to get notification of my next rant.